Transmitting from the Mojave Wilderness in Joshua Tree, California, now is the time for Desert Oracle Radio, the voice of the desert.
Night has fallen on the desert. How's everybody doing out there? On this night in the arid American West, I'm kind of in a daze, so if you're looking for an episode of this radio show to dissuade you from recommending it to others, this is the one. Because I'm about 24 hours into the second Pfizer vaccine shot. And all I can think about is my old Zune, all my old favorite songs, watching videos on my Surface tablet, thinking about favorite operating systems of the past, Bob and Vista, and wondering if I should have taken the advice of a nice lady at the temporary worker agency many decades ago, which was, get your XP certification. I've been outside and it's all just a little confusing. This one rock squirrel has been doing something strange with one of the solar lights out under a Joshua tree. I notice they treat you a little differently when you come for your second shot, with a little more sympathy. Because you're in a good mood, you know? It's done. Not one and done. But it's done. And you are thinking about all the fun you're going to have. Like, I'm going to get in the truck and go to every state where everything's open. I'm going to go to that modern American art museum that the Waltons built in some holler in Arkansas. I'm gonna go take a long tour of the West Texas oil fields. The world is our oyster. But maybe not today. Today is a day or night, whatever it is, to spend with a very special, close personal friend named NyQuil. Oh, but I can still read. I can still read out of my own book. Just about every day, somebody comments or emails or sends a card or a letter asking when the audiobook of Desert Oracle Volume 1 is going to be available for listening, purchase, etc., you're going to have to write to our publisher, MCD Books in New York City, and ask them, because I've been asking. I guess I need one of those high-powered agents. Whenever I'm looking through Twitter or something, it seems like every other person has a represented by so-and-so in their Twitter bio. But as none of them have published any books, you have to wonder what exactly is being represented. Now, this is something that I originally wrote for Stephen Biller at Palm Springs Life magazine a couple of years ago. It's an introduction for visiting the wilder parts of the Mojave. It's called Try Not to Die. It wasn't supposed to go like this. Wasn't the plan at all. The plan was to get out of town for a few days and explore the desert, fill up the Instagram feed with abandoned gas stations and cracked asphalt 2 lanes, snaking through forest of Joshua trees. Beers at a roadhouse, impulse buys at a little shop on Highway 62. A night under the stars from the safety of an Airbnb hot tub or a campfire ring. And now it's a late summer day, well over 100 degrees, not a stylish swimming pool or outdoor cocktail bar in sight. You've been sitting in the car, the doors flung open, the burning air wrapped around you, suffocating and dense and so very dry. An empty cardboard coffee cup in the drink holder, an empty plastic water bottle crumpled under the seat. It is midday. Which means in 7 or 8 hours, the ball of orange fire in the sky will finally sink behind the mountains and the temperature will sink down to 95 degrees or so, if you're lucky. Something gave out. The gas in the tank, or the city tires, or the transmission, or maybe the rear axle. Snapped in two by a boulder partially buried in the sand on this godforsaken dirt road you never meant to be on. Never consciously chose to take at all. The voice of the navigation robot was as sure as ever. Turn right at the gas station. Even though there was little left of that particular gas station. And the road itself was forlorn and untroubled by recent tire tracks. There was something you were headed for, an art exhibit on the open desert, a historic mining site, a location from a television show you remembered. Maybe a sweeping view of a national monument. It doesn't matter now. It's possible. Everything is possible with God. Even God is a possibility. Unless you write it down, nobody will ever know why you wound up dead on a rough, sandy track that could charitably be called a Jeep trail. Even if they find your remains, which might not happen for years, your personal story will not be told. Maybe there will be a little news article somewhere. Human remains found hours from nearest settlement, that kind of thing. If anybody remembers you, maybe they will clip it out of the newspaper. Bookmark the website page. You had so much life left to live, so many things you never got around to doing. And now all you're going to do is become a sun-baked skeleton picked over by vultures and ants. One bony hand stretched out ahead. Maybe at the end you thought you were almost home. The Mojave Desert covers much of Southern California and a bit of the neighboring states, Southern Nevada, the Arizona Strip, the bottom corner of Utah. Before this dried-out expanse of burnt chocolate mountains and blinding playas and lonely roads became beautiful in the eyes of the beautiful people, it was something to endure on the way to Las Vegas or the Colorado River. Or something to survive on the way to whatever was luring you to the West Coast. There were always desert rats, always the antisocial sort who looked at this punishing landscape and felt right at home. The romantics. The people who required a weird backdrop to fit their personal movie. But there were never enough of them to fill many hotel rooms or vacation rentals, and so the desert was mostly ignored. Unless the steady jobs of the Los Angeles basin were in commuting distance. Or unless a corporation gets a hold of some government desert land to use for giant solar towers or windmills or a gold mine. Or some insane scheme to pump the groundwater from the Mojave to Orange County, the desert interior consists of unfenced national parks and national monuments with no unauthorized entry, military bases, and massive blocks of nearly untouched wilderness filling the map between the Sierra Nevada, Las Vegas, and the urban sprawl of Southern California. Luckily for those who love this wild desert in its natural state over the past 100 years, a few visionaries were able to set aside much of this landscape as an immense desert preserve that rivals anything on Earth in size. $10 million protected acres of the Great Mojave Wilderness from the tip of Death Valley National Park to San Gorgonio within the new Sand to Snow National Monument. Most visitors stay close to Joshua Tree National Park today, and especially to its well-traveled sightseeing spots and tourist traps. If you get a flat tire or a dead battery on the Park Boulevard loop between 29 Palms and the unincorporated village of Joshua Tree, a friendly ranger will come along before too long. And if your Airbnb turns out to be a lightly redecorated meth shack without a working toilet, you can always drive to a motel. Get lost on a remote trail or break down off the highway and you're going to have a very different experience. Maybe you'll survive. And maybe you'll become part of our rich local history of lost tourists. We add a few names to this roster every summer, if the names are known. But maybe you're not ready to be on this list of people the Mojave chewed up and spit out. Maybe you have plans. Plans that require coming home without the aid of a black vinyl body bag. The good news is that the gospel of desert survival is short, simple, and easy to remember. Number one, water. And lots of it. Maybe you can dig up some sandy, alkaline water from the damp edge of a wash, if you're lucky enough to be there just after a good soaking, which is unlikely. Maybe you can build a solar still if you happen to drive around with science project supplies. Or maybe you can bash open a barrel cactus, but it's best to leave that to the bighorn sheep, who don't get sick from the bitter mush within. Why not just carry plenty of water and not worry about your Eagle Scout technique? When you're at the grocery store buying whiskey and marshmallows for the campfire, fill up the extra space in the shopping cart with cheap plastic jugs of water. $10 worth of gallon jug water in the trunk can significantly raise the odds of surviving your Mojave ordeal. And please recycle the plastic jugs once you're rescued. Number 2, don't waste that phone charge. Of course, you've got a car charger, so make sure your phone is charged up and don't run it down looking at Instagram. You're already in the scenic desert. And while there are plenty of remote spots without any cell coverage in much of the Mojave, you can get a cell signal even if you've got to walk up a hill first. But don't try this at high noon in August. Number 3, do not walk in the heat of the day. If it's already hot when you start your day hike, it's going to be unbearable on the way back. Especially at Amboy Crater and Mojave Trails National Monument, where 4 day hikers have perished since 2017. In the summer heat, dawn and dusk are the only times you want to be headed out for an easy walk. And if you're stuck with your car somewhere, it's best to stay put rather than walk into that inferno. Number 4, a broken down car is your friend. Your vehicle can be seen from a distance. It's bigger than you are. The glass and the mirrors and the shiny paint reflect light, and is probably already on some kind of road or trail. Stay on the shady side when the sun's beating down. Number 5, call for help before it's too late. When an Orange County couple got lost on a midday walk around Amboy Crater in June of 2018, Kathy Barber managed to call 911. But Barber and her partner were already dead when the sheriff's helicopter found them. Number 6, watch where you step and where you reach. The best way to avoid a rattlesnake bite is to avoid stepping on or grabbing a rattlesnake. And they're out now. To avoid black widow bites and scorpion stings, don't put your hands where you can't see them. And leave those old army surplus snake bite kits at home. Doctors say slicing up your flesh with a razor blade does far more harm than good. Just get to any desert hospital where antivenom is available. Number 7, flash floods kill. The most reliable way to die in the desert is to drive your car into floodwaters blocking a roadway. This is as deadly in downtown Palm Springs as it is in the Mojave Wilderness. And no matter how comfortable that shady wash looks on a hot day in monsoon season, remember that churning torrents of mud, boulders, dead cows, and floodwaters can come rolling down from dozens of miles away. Number 8, check out the condition of your car, your rental RV, your car share Prius, whatever you're relying on to get you back to civilization. Make sure your tires are evenly inflated and have enough tread for a road trip. Is your spare tire functional? Do you have enough coolant in the reservoir? How about engine oil? And don't forget a full tank of gas. Service stations are few and far between. Number 9. Tell someone who cares. Heading off to the desert wilds? Type a message to the people who care about you, the ones who care whether you live or die. And tell the desk staff at your hotel or your vacation rental host or the rangers at your campground. Sign the trail registers, leave a note on the dashboard if you're heading away from your vehicle. The more clues for the rescuers, the more likely they'll find you while you're still breathing. Number 10. Maybe don't go rock climbing alone. Crawling up boulders has become a popular pastime despite the well-established effects of gravity and routine deaths and critical injuries from falls getting wide coverage. In May 2018, New Zealander Claire Nelson fell 15 feet from a boulder in Joshua Tree National Park and spent 4 terrifying days on the ground with a shattered hip before rescuers went looking for her. If you must try rock climbing, do so with a buddy. Oh, and Claire Nelson's book, What I Learned from Falling, is coming out now in the United States. Number 11, choose your buddy carefully. In the sweltering summer of 2017, a 20-year-old Orange County resident went to Joshua Tree to celebrate her birthday with her ex-boyfriend. Just 2 miles from the Maze Loop parking lot where their vehicle was found, her ex-boyfriend shot her through the skull with his .40 caliber semi-automatic pistol, which he had carried, loaded, on a short day hike in a national park. Then he turned the gun on himself. Number 12. Finally, if all else fails and your time is at hand, know that most people relax at the end. Find a place to sit down in the shade, if there's any shade. None of us live forever, and not enough of us get the time to sit alone in the quiet wilderness and contemplate our own existence and our place in the world. Well, there are some friendly desert tips for anyone who finds himself out in the desert. Whether you live here, whether you're visiting, whether you just woke up out here, which happens more often than we like to admit. So enjoy your time out here, regardless of your circumstances. And enjoy these soundscapes from our own Red, Blue, Black, Silver. Next time I'm going to get the one and done. Next pandemic. I hope that's a long time away. From Amboy to Zzyzx and across the great Mojave Wilderness, this is Desert Oracle Radio. We broadcast from our home station, KCDZ 107.7 FM in Joshua Tree and the surrounding high desert. But you can hear it anytime on your podcast player. And you can hear us on select community radio stations across the United States. We don't have any wildflowers. The cactus are barely blooming. But that's what you get. The desert is not a botanical garden. It's not Disneyland. But it is a lot of things at once. A land of contrasts, as they say. It is both a unique bioregion, a great wilderness protected by good people who work their whole lives for this very purpose. And it's also the far edge of the Los Angeles metropolitan area. The TV stations are from LA. The sports team stickers are all LA teams, often right next to the Go Back to LA bumper sticker. Those started popping up a year or so ago. I can't remember, in the pandemic. Well, next weekend might be a wild one, but for now, I'll say goodnight to all of you out there in the desert and beyond. And I'm going to go spend some quality time with a bottle of NyQuil. Thank you for listening. And good night from the voice of the desert.